The HOKA Speedgoat 6 and the HOKA Mafate Speed 4 are some of the best trail running shoes out there. HOKA is one of the most popular brands when it comes to trail running shoes. If you go on their website and you shop for some shoes, you'll be faced with two big choices. Do you take the HOKA Speedgoat 6 or the Mafate Speed 4? They're both great shoes, but they have key differences. And I want to help you choose the best shoe for you. So what I did is I tested the shit out of them. A total of about 1,000 miles. We also have a special guest who will tell her experience with both shoes. Hey, Simon here. Welcome to my channel. I'm a trail ultra runner, and today we're doing gear review. More specifically, we're talking about the HOKA Speedgoat 6 and the HOKA Mafate Speed 4. And this won't be a shoe review of one or the other, but more trying to compare my experience on these shoes. And first, a quick disclaimer, I received the shoes from HOKA. I'm not sponsored by them, but I got these shoes for free, so full transparency here. And although I'm going to cover some of the key difference in terms of specs for these shoes, I know you're smart, you can go on their webpage. If you want the details of how much they weigh, I'm sure you can do that by yourself. So I really want to focus on my experience with these shoes and also the experience of my special guest today. Because at the end of the day, what really matters is how does it feel to run with these shoes? When should you use which shoes and which one is best for you? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So first, quick comparison. Both shoes are great quality shoes. Honestly, you won't go wrong with one or the other, but there are key differences that could make the distinction between which one should you get. They're both light shoes with a lot of cushioning, a lot of support. They're very cushy, they're very comfortable, good quality product, and price range is fairly similar. The Speedgoat is a little bit less expensive than the Mafate. Depending on where you are in the US, it's maybe a $20, $30 difference. So significant difference, especially when you start adding them up. But if one shoe is better than the other, it's definitely worth the difference in terms of price. They're both also very popular shoes with trail runner, and for good reason. One of the things that is pretty important with these shoes, they both have a lot of cushioning on them, but the Speedgoat is a little bit more cushy, where the Mafate is a little bit more responsive. So when it comes to performance, the Mafate might be a little bit better, and this one will feel a little bit smoother. Another thing that is pretty important is that on the heel you have this kind of little thingy that will help with Achilles pain. As for the purpose of both shoes, it's kind of the same in both cases. This is for long distance running on trail, which means that you have great adherence with this. If you look under the shoe, it's very grippy. They're a little bit different. The Mafate will have deeper tread, much more aggressive tread, a little bit harder, a little bit stiffer. Whereas the Speedgoat, it's a little lighter, but it's super grippy. If it's dusty, if it's rocky, you're gonna really adhere to the trail and you can be confident that you're not gonna slip. As for the mesh and protection of the shoe, they're both a little bit flimsy. The toe protection, there's a little bit of it, but if it's very rocky, in both cases, you will bump your toes and it's gonna hurt a little bit. The Mafate is a little bit stiffer, so there's a little bit more protection, but still it's minimal compared to some other shoes. And for the mesh itself, it's very breathable when it comes to the Speedgoat. The Mafate also, but it's a little bit thicker, so if you want protection from the elements, the Mafate will be a little bit better for that. Whereas if you're running somewhere where it's really hot, I think the Speedgoat will be very good for that. But enough blah blah blah. What really matters and the point of this video is to talk about my experience and my guest experience with these shoes. So without further ado, let's bring my special guest. Nora, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Nora, first question is, how are your knees?
My knees are fine. It's my ankles that have been recovering over the past few months, but luckily since the injury I've been able to come back to running slowly but surely and feel more confident on the trail.
Yeah, we've been running quite a lot lately actually, and I bring you in today to talk about the HOKA Speedgoat 6 and the HOKA Mafate 4. So several months ago we received these shoes and we've been testing them extensively, both of us, on trail and ultramarathon. So if we start with the Speedgoat 6, I ran about 700 miles in them, a lot of ultramarathon up to 200 miles, things like Angeles Crest, Leadville, so a lot of experience with them.
So for me, I've been playing in the Speedgoats for about 500 to 600 miles in a range of terrain from the Tour de Mont Blanc to the PCT, Antelope Canyon, Zion, and the Sierras.
So how did you feel?
So for me, the experience with the Speedgoats has been it's a very structured technical shoe. It's my first trail running shoe where I didn't have Achilles pain, so I appreciated that for the first time I could enjoy some technical running. And on the trails, it felt as though I could really almost fly and still step with a lot of reassurance and confidence that I wouldn't slip.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The Achilles thing is also a problem that has been recurring for me, and just the design on the back of the shoe is super helpful for that. But you're not sacrificing anything for that. These shoes are very technical and they feel great. For me, that's the shoe that I prefer running in terms of how it feels. It's so light. It's also so cushy. You feel like you're flying or you're just breezing through the trail, which is an absolutely amazing experience. If we switch gear to the Mafate 4, so the Mafate 4, I've raced a fair amount with them, but not as much, and I really focus on more technical trail, on more mountain racing. So I did, for example, Tour des Géants with them. I have about 400 or 500 miles in my Mafate.
So for me, I've been running in the Mafates for about 100 miles or so. It's been my go-to shoe since I've returned to running. And I've run training runs upwards of 20 miles on the trails.
And how do they feel?
My experience with the Mafate so far has been pretty rewarding. It's a very structured and supportive shoe that's allowed me to feel really confident returning back to the trail since injuring my ankle. It's allowed me to run on technical trail without any challenges in my Achilles, and it grips very, very well, particularly on dirt and rock.
Yeah, so the Mafate, they are very much technical trail running, and they're definitely a little bit stiffer in general, very aggressive tread, but that's the confidence that you want, especially returning from an injury. You don't want to slip again, you're a little bit more hesitant, and bring back this confidence is pretty important. That's actually why I was using them on Tour des Géants. I was worried about injury, especially that we were running in the rain, in the snow. I wanted to have the confidence to not worry about slipping and injuring myself. Also, it felt that these shoes were protecting my feet pretty well from the elements, and although the cushioning is a little bit stiffer, they feel a little bit more responsive. And the cushioning itself is still pretty cushy, but it's very responsive. You really feel that it will bounce you forward. You will probably have better performance. Now, I'm not a fast runner, but that's an added benefit to them. But they're definitely a little stiffer, a little harder, so it takes a little bit more time to get used to them. But now if we focus again on the topic of the video, which is Speedgoat 6 or Mafate 4, what do you think?
You know, I'm sorry, I'll just get. You know, for me, they're pretty similar in terms of preference. Both have protected me from Achilles pain. Both have allowed me to feel really, really confident on the trails, for technical running in particular. Simon's right. I similarly feel a degree of stiffness in both, but you just need to run a little bit more to support the flexibility over time. The one concern I'm watching for is for the Mafate. It's a little bit slimmer of a shoe, and I have fairly wide feet. So I am thinking about for a longer run, for more like an ultra race, how will it be for me in terms of blisters? So another key difference with these shoes is really the treads, and I noticed for the Speedgoats, the treads were really starting to wear down over time, and so far these are remaining pretty strong, but that said, it's going to take a little bit more time with the Mafate and the experience I have to figure out which one I like more. But again, to your question, Simon, I like them both equally at this time.
So for Christmas, what should you ask Santa Claus?
I should ask Santa Claus, why not both?
Okay.
Have I been a good girl?
Santa Claus. HOKA Santa Claus. We need both shoes. But I think they're great points. And it's true, even if we just look at these shoes, I don't know if I can show you. Clearly, the Mafate are not, this one is the Mafate. They're not used nearly as much. It doesn't tear down as quickly. And that's something that I had noticed also myself using the Speedgoat. As I said, I ran like 700-800 miles in shoes like that, but it's not the same pair. It wouldn't last for that long, and they get shred pretty quickly, which is not necessarily a negative thing, but when you think about the price difference, it feels that the Speedgoat anyway don't last as long, so you might actually end up at the same pricing. The other thing about the shoe being narrow, actually just a clarification is the shoe is the same design in terms of size. The key difference though is that the Speedgoat also has a model that is the wide model, which for a lot of the people, the complaint with these shoes is that they are fairly narrow. It seems that shoe models, top models have very narrow feet, and normal people like us have fat feet. I don't know. But at the end of the
Yes.
day, we have the body shaming of taking the wide shoe, which is not an option with the Mafate. I did not have problem myself with blisters. Actually, I had more blister with the Speedgoat, and one of the reasons for that is that the mesh on these shoes, especially over at the middle, is very fine fabric, which is great. It's breathable if you're in the desert and you're sweating. That's going to be helpful. However, it makes your feet very dirty when it comes to dust, and if you don't have the time to clean them up, it's gonna increase the risk of blisters. So I had pretty bad blisters in my Speedgoat when I raced Cocodona, but it's partly because I was not able to take care of my feet properly. But that's something that, unfortunately, I will always remember how bad my blisters were at Cocodona, and I will always, to some extent, blame my Speedgoat 6 for that. And when it comes to Santa Claus, well, Santa Claus should probably get me the Mafate. And the reason why I prefer the Mafate, well, first of all, I love both shoes. I think the feeling of running with Speedgoat is absolutely amazing. The distinction is that I feel the Mafate is a little bit more suited to technical mountain running because of the shoe protection, because of the element protection with the snow, with the mud. So because of that, I prefer the Mafate myself. I also like that they're a little stiffer, which I feel that on the long run, even though it doesn't feel as good, it's protecting my feet a little bit more from injury. But again, you don't go wrong with any of these shoes, so if you want to get me a pair of shoes, you can give me either one of them. I'll be very happy about it. But actually, there's a key question, and that's why I needed my lovely wife for that, which is stylistically, which one is the best shoe? Which one has the best color?
Oh, well, I mean, on the website you can pick a number of colors, but goodness, I mean, you really can't go wrong with either one. I think...
That was a trick question. I did not prepare for that.
No, you did not. Damn it. All right, my favorite colors, as Simon may know when we started dating, are the sunset or sunrise colors. So I am biased. I am partial to something that looks like the sunset or the sunrise. So I'll have to go with the Speedgoat colors.
Yeah. I mean, it was a trick question. They have so many color patterns. That's what's funky about these shoes.
Yes.
You can take whatever feels good. And
all the colors.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds silly, but these are shoes, and it's nice to feel good in them. And it matters. The color matters. And everyone knows that blue shoes are slower, but you can run longer. And red shoes, you're faster, but you're going to burn out yourself.
Science.
Science, yes. All right, well, Nora, thanks for joining me. That was really fun. We have a lot of other gear that we need to review. Obviously, with the injury, that's why we postponed a little bit a lot of these movies, but thanks for coming over.
Yeah, happy to be here.
And that's it, folks. This is our experience, our review of the HOKA Speedgoat 6 and the HOKA Mafate Speed 4. You heard it from both of us. These are great shoes. Honestly, you can't go wrong with either one of them. I do have a preference for the Mafate, but I think this is mostly based on the trail that I like to run myself. If it's really rocky, if it's really technical, I think the Mafate is a little bit better. It's also a little bit more performance driven. But honestly, if I drive to a race and by mistake I bring my Speedgoat instead of my Mafate, I won't just DNS the race and say, you know, I don't have shoes to run this race. No, that's fine. I'm gonna use the shoes that I have and I'll be perfectly happy with it. However, if I have a choice, if it's a technical race, I will use more protection for my feet. But at the end of the day, this is very much a preference thing. And I would highly suggest, if you've tried either one of these shoes, it's a good idea to actually try the other one and see what you actually prefer. Personally, when I tried my Speedgoat 6, the first time I was like, wow, these shoes are absolutely amazing. I cannot think that I would prefer another shoe. And the feeling of the Speedgoat 6 is better. It's just you're floating on a cloud. This is so great. But sometimes, especially for these longer races, especially, you know, you go into 200 mile, having a little bit more protection, being a little bit more technical is needed. It doesn't feel as great, but performance-wise and protecting your body, this for me was a little bit better. But I'm curious to hear it from you. Have you tried the Speedgoat 6 or the Mafate 4? If so, let me know in the comments below. Which one do you prefer? Do you agree, disagree with what we said in this review? Share it in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. Please leave a thumbs up, comment below, share with your friends, and see you next time.